welcome to another episode of Two Guys in a Chainsaw. I'm Todd.
And I'm Craig.
And joining us today is longtime friend of the podcast and personal friend of mine. This is Craig's sister, Kristen. Say hello to the people, Kristen.
Hello, people, and happy spooky season.
Yay, Halloween. We've had you on here several times before. Let's see. What have we all talked about? We've talked about the world-ending movie
that
last
home invasion
summer.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Home invasions, yes. Did I do the Monster Squad? I think I did the Monster Squad.
No.
Yeah, I think
Did you?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
We brought you in for at least a couple that you and Craig used to watch incessantly growing up. And because today's episode is the long requested by many, many of our listeners over the course of probably every year I think we've done this podcast, practically during Halloween season, we're doing The Worst Witch, a TV show special from 1986. You and Craig, I understand, watched this a lot growing up, and that's why we've got you on.
Yes, probably millions of times.
Wow.
I'm not even exaggerating.
Millions of
twice already in the last month. So
it's even continuing into adulthood. I got to admit to you guys, I'd never seen this or heard of it before in my life.
What? Now, I can understand maybe not seeing it, but I can't understand not even knowing about it.
I mean,
That's crazy.
I knew about it when we started doing this podcast, and every time we asked for Halloween possibilities, somebody comes out of the woodwork, if not a half a dozen people, and are like, are you going to do The Worst Witch? I just remember that so much from my childhood. It's such a goofy movie. And I'm like, what is that? And I had to look it up. And
I'm so happy to hear that people have requested this, because I kept telling Craig, what in the world would we talk about? This is not a horror movie. It's only an hour long. I had such anxiety about it that I had nightmares last night. I dreamt that we were all together and that Todd was being really passive aggressive the whole time. And you kept bringing out buckets of Halloween candy like, I really didn't want to get this out. I really need this for tomorrow. But you just didn't know what else to do. So I think my subconscious was worried that this would go terribly wrong.
I want to see that movie. I just seriously, like, people request it all the time, and I guess it aired on HBO. It was done in '86, but it was a British production, or at least it was produced in Britain, and it did show at least a little bit on some television over there, but then immediately I think it was commissioned for HBO, and so HBO was showing it every year up until the mid-90s. And the Disney Channel as well, I think. Did you see it? Would you guys have seen it on HBO or the Disney Channel, or where would you guys have seen it?
HBO for sure. And at some point we videotaped it, but I do remember that they played it every Halloween, and they would tease it. Like, they would show clips from it to tease it. Oh gosh, so exciting.
Yeah, I would have said that we recorded it off of like a free trial week of HBO, and then
that's probably right. That's probably right.
We did so much of that. HBO and the Disney Channel. You know, you get that free preview weekend or whatever if you were a cable subscriber, and it would also be like they'd throw their best stuff up there. You know, because they're trying to get you to subscribe. So you'd have that we always had a tape ready to record like everything that was coming on, and you're right. Those would be our staples. Those would be the things that my sisters and I would pop in whenever we wanted to watch something. And so we'd watch the same things over and over again with the same commercials.
I've been excited about talking about this for weeks, but I've been thinking about it. And Kristen and I watched this so many times, not entirely, but in part out of necessity. I wonder, and Kristen, I'm glad you're here because you have kids. You can tell us. Do kids have these things anymore? Do they have these things that they watch over and over and over again and have strong connections to? Because they're so inundated with media from every angle. They don't have the necessity of rewatching things because there's always something new to watch.
Yeah, so my kids are older now. They're 16 and 13, but my son Kai had movies when he was a kid that he wanted to watch over and over again, like the Spy Kid franchise. He loved those, and we would watch them over and over and over. But once we were giving them iPads, it kind of ends it. He will not even watch a movie these days. We'll say, well, you want to watch this? He's like, I don't watch movies. And it's true. He watches YouTube. And he watches TikTok. He won't watch movies, but they watch stuff. They're just not interested in movies. And it's really sad. This was our whole childhood. And even now, we really enjoy doing it.
You know, my son is 7, and we have purposely tried not to inundate him with media, and we're very deliberate about what he watches and what we let him watch. But we try to be reasonable about it. We don't want to isolate this poor kid. So he gets to school and, nobody knows, he can't relate to anybody because he doesn't know what anything is. But that said, like, I've seen these tendencies with him too. It may be a little too early to tell because he's only 7, but he's in 2nd grade. And the other day when he was over here, we put in a movie that I thought he would like. I don't remember what it was. And the first thing out of his mouth was, "Oh, this is a real person movie. I don't like to watch real person movies, Daddy." And what he meant was live action. He's so cartoon centered, but also like YouTube centered. Like he watches Minecraft videos. And again, we are very frugal, with what we allow him. We don't give him free reign over YouTube. And it's actually a treat for him. But I see that pattern. I even see that with myself. It sounds weird, but it's a bit of a commitment to sit down for an hour and a half when you've got little bits and snippets of things that you can watch throughout the day at your fingertips.
Right. But then you'll realize you've been looking at like YouTube or scrolling on something for like 3
An
hours.
hour and a half, right.
Oops, I guess I could have watched a whole movie.
And
My daughter will still watch movies with me. She loves Halloween. And so I had just listened to your Goosebumps episode and I was like, I can't believe I haven't watched Goosebumps. I read all those R.L. Stein books when I was a kid. So Keely and I watched that yesterday and we both loved it. So she'll still watch the occasional movie with me.
Well, that's good.
I can't even get Alan to watch movies with me. Too long.
Did he watch The Worst Wish with you?
Well, he has. I considered asking him to rewatch it with me, but he wasn't interested. So, no, I didn't make him watch it this time around, but I certainly still enjoyed it because you've never seen it before. And I'm hesitant to even ask because I told you going in, I said, Todd, it's not a good movie. It is old. It looks old as hell. It's a made-for-TV movie from the 80s, and the effects are they are just green screening the shit out of everything. So I'm hesitant to ask, but what did you think?
Well, don't forget, I put it on the list, right?
That's true. You did. You picked it.
I fully understood what I was getting into because this is no different in many ways than all of those TV movies that we would see from this era. 1986, square in the middle of the 80s, cheaply produced. The special effects are going to be cheap. They're going to be video. The thing was it shot on video? Some of it was definitely shot on video. Some of it was clearly shot on film. But again, cheap video, green screen effects. God, even the copy that we found to watch is just, again, I felt like I was back in front of my, 10-inch screen.
That's as good as it gets. I have it on DVD.
Oh, really?
That's what it always looks like.
Still no better.
It always looks the same.
You can't clean up a picture you just can't. It would, because when people clean up movies, they take them back to the pristine original. Those original negatives, they were nice. With a nice, well shot movie on film, even a low budget one. But this crap shot for TV is half TV cameras, and it's just cheap. So it's never going to look good unless you get some AI in here to add elements that were never there in the first place. So yeah, I knew exactly what I was getting into, and I was fully prepared for it. I was surprised when I started watching it. I was like, "This is Harry Potter 1.0."
The girl version.
It is. It's the girl, and I mean, come on. There's so many elements in here of Harry Potter that I had to wonder. Was this a genre that J.K. Rowling just kind of picked up on and ran with? Or certainly she was directly inspired by this in some way, shape, or form.
This and Troll.
Yeah, we've talked about that too. Troll.
This is jumping way ahead, but this is one of 3 screen adaptations of a children's book series that began in the late 70s. And I knew, Kristen, you had said that you saw that there was a series. I just assumed that you were talking about the one that happened, I don't remember, pre-2000.
More
there
recently.
Have been 2 series.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a new one.
That's what I'm saying. There is, it's not new, but it started in 2017. And just out of curiosity, I popped it on right before we started talking. And Mildred Hubble is played by Bella Ramsey. the girl from The Last of Us.
Really?
I haven't
No
seen
kidding.
that.
The main girl from The Last of Us.
Yes, the main person.
That would work.
They are non-binary, but the main person from The Last of Us is Mildred Hubble in that.
Wow.
And literally, I just popped it on right before we got on, so I only watched like 10 minutes, but it felt even more Harry Potter. Like, she's just a normal girl in her apartment, and she happens to see witches flying towards this castle, but nobody else can see them. And then one of them, Maud, who is also a character in this movie that we watched,
One of my favorite characters.
Like me too. She's my favorite.
I already want to talk about my favorite line, which is in the very beginning when they're going in to take their potions test, and Mildred says, "But that's cheating," because she's going to take in her book, and she's like, "Right." I just love her. She's funky.
She's hilarious, and she's got Mildred's back all the time. I don't know. I guess we should start at the beginning.
Yeah, I guess I never answered your question, but I suppose that'll get answered as we go along.
Well,
generally speaking,
You have to pretend you're a child.
I do.
Exactly.
I do.
Can you see it from our point of view? Like, you saw this when you were a kid.
100%. And I could even put myself there, and I think that's the saving grace of all of this is that, I remember watching shows like this and loving shows like this, even though I had not watched and loved this particular one. I totally get it. None of the aesthetic really bothered me too much. In fact, it was a little nostalgic and kind of quaint to go back and remember, oh yeah, this is what it was. And then when Tim Curry comes on screen, my eyes are, 3 inches away because I love Tim Curry to death. No matter what he's in, I will watch that man. And then he started his musical number, and I was so full of joy.
And then you knew what you were being for Halloween this year.
Oh, my God. Yes.
As soon as you see the Grand High Wizard,
I just need
do
one.
his song and dance.
Yes. And I will prance around just like he did and spin and have that cape with the extended. It's like you hold these rods and, your cape extends beyond your hands into these rods. Oh, come on.
It also kind of reminds me of like ribbon dancers when they have their little sticks with their ribbons.
It's like the same.
Yeah.
I've seen this.
What it was, Todd, I don't know if you ever, when in your childhood, went someplace like Six Flags, for example,
right.
And they had the room you went in with all your cousins, and you made a music video, and it was a big green screen, and it was exactly what his number was.
Oh, yes, exactly. Yeah, the booths, right, where they were like, you'd pay
and
extra.
You can bet your bottom dollar. We have done that before.
With this song?
No, with that song. They didn't have that in the book.
Oh, I thought you were going to drop this bombshell on me. But yeah. Oh, no. Yeah, 100%. That's exactly what this was.
I would pay $1,000 if we could find that video.
Oh, my God, I know. Our name was the Tidal Wave 5. I remember.
Wow. Oh, man, that brings me back.
And we did old time rock and roll.
Oh, God. I remember doing it, but I didn't remember what we did. Oh, that's funny.
The thing is,
guys, these are the things, like we do these things with our cousins. We watch this movie with our cousins all the time. And we had so much fun growing up watching these crappy movies. They weren't crappy then. We thought they were the best thing ever, but this was our childhood.
We sound like old people when we say this stuff, but
we are. We're not old.
We're not
getting older though.
No,
and it's bizarre because I find myself turning into my parents, both of them. And I'm just like, kids these days.
But we have an excuse because we're quite young still, but like tech has moved super fast. So these things that were so quaint were just a few decades ago. Whereas for our parents, quaint things were like, 50, 60 decades ago. Like, technology.
Automobiles.
Yeah, right. My grandma talking about being pulled in a horse-drawn carriage. But like this kind of thing is so far removed from, like, you can do a green screen crap in your apartment now with your phone,
right.
And you don't even need a green screen behind you. Like, it'll just
and it would look way better than this movie.
That's what I was going to say, and it looks way better.
Yeah.
Than this movie looked.
So, like, even then, this wasn't, like, super impressive. But at least, like, it was cool movie magic to have this kind of green screen stuff. And just like you said, Kristen, the most badass thing in the world for you to be in a place where you could sing and dance in front of a green screen and put together your own music video that looked just like this on TV.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet back then.
Oh, boy. Yeah, it was a different time. It was a different time. But I'm glad that you could at least appreciate it. But honestly, I love every second of it. Like, this movie is only an hour and 10 minutes long, and it's not even really that long with like the credits and stuff. I have as many notes on this movie as I have on any movie that we ever do.
God.
Well over a page,
I
single
have none.
space. Every single thing that happened, I was like, oh, this is important.
Well,
So I'm obviously not going to be able to go through all of that, but we should at least at some point talk about what
the
happened.
movie. Can I just say real quick on the production value? They filmed it, I think, at an actual college, but it looks like your classic English boarding school, just straight out of Harry Potter, something like that. So they filmed it there. And so immediately for me, just because I'm American, maybe this wouldn't impress you if you went to a boarding school like this, but, okay, kind of high production value. Real British people speaking with real British accents. Mostly, yeah, not all of them.
Mrs. Garrett's accent is questionable.
Yeah, well.
All of her bits are questionable.
Yeah.
She's amazing. Charlotte Ray from The Facts of Life.
Facts of Life, yeah. She's Wisconsin
Fantastic.
Galley. So, okay, production value. And then you kind of look at the fact that they're doing their green screen. Some of the broom flying sequences, I was impressed with how they were able to shoot that on a limited budget with obvious green screen and still make it halfway decent. It actually wasn't too bad. I mean, it looks cheesy, but, it kind of works for that. But then there were just random elements of cheapness that I could not get over, because in the very first scene when the two girls pile into their potions class, like you were talking about, they walk right into this classroom and past a blow-up plastic skeleton that is hanging in the room. This is like a potions class. It's a school. It's like a science class at the very least. There's supposed to be like a giant human skeleton or a plastic skull or whatever for anatomy study that they're going past. But what they literally walk by is a blow-up plastic Halloween decoration. I couldn't believe.
Oh God, that is so funny because
I have never noticed.
You didn't notice that?
I've never noticed it either.
Oh.
And I haven't either. And I'm sitting here thinking, that's not important. Kristen, let's talk about the movie.
It's important to me, Craig. It's important to me.
It's not as important as the music in this movie.
Okay, let me just do this
kidding.
really
I never
quick.
noticed that. That's funny though.
I haven't either. I did, for the first time ever, notice this time that they have a poster of David Bowie in their bedroom, and I thought that was cool.
Oh, yeah.
So this is Miss Cackle's International Academy for Witches, founded in 1604. And it's run by Miss Cackle, who is Charlotte Ray, beloved actress from The Facts of Life. I love her. Actually started on Different Strokes. Facts of Life was a spinoff of that. She's fantastic. Mildred Hubble is our main character, and she is the worst witch because she's just clumsy and absent-minded. And she's played by Fairuza Balk, who I am a huge fan of. Kristen can attest to the fact that I had the Craft poster on my bedroom wall all through college.
Wow.
He thought he was a witch.
Really? Well,
he wanted their cool girl witch club.
And I can only assume you guys were as traumatized by repeated viewings of Return to Oz as we were as children as well.
Absolutely.
Traumatized and enamored.
Oh, yeah.
Another of my favorite movies. That's another movie that we could definitely do on this podcast, and Kristen should join us.
He qualifies.
Because that movie was scary.
I called Craig and I said, we should be doing Return to Oz because that movie is scary.
That's actually horror.
yeah, those Wheeler guys.
Oh, God. And the witch in there with the
witch
head.
Save it. God. We'll do it one of these days. All right. So Mildred is the worst witch, and she's got a friend, Maud, who's funny. I love her. And then there's the bully, Ethel Hallow. And I also I don't love Ethel Hallow because she's a total bitch, but I do love her because she's a total bitch. It's hilarious. Okay, so that's the setup. Okay, and so then it's just a cute story about Mildred being awkward and bumping into people and making a whole line of witches fall down and just bumbling and stuff like that, and it's hilarious. But Kristen, yes, the music is the best part. Are we gonna sing?
Well,
my
I
God.
did call Craig when he said, we're going to do this movie. Will you do it with us? I texted him back and said, I just sang the whole opening credits song just to see if I could.
I get twisted up in the words sometimes, but the opening song,
you have to sing it in the style that it is meant to be sung. Would be my only
what that means.
As cheesy as it is.
Okay, wait. All right, you're gonna have to help me with the words though, because I get mixed up in the first part. Growing up isn't easy.
Scared
of every move you make. How much can a young girl take? Mirror, mirror on the wall.
You're slow.
Who's the worst witch of them all?
This isn't going well. You're too slow.
It's hard to do on video chat because there's delays.
I think one of us is on a delay.
Growing up isn't easy. Scared of every move you make. How much can a young girl take? Mirror, mirror on the wall. Who's the worst witch of them all?
I could sing that whole thing.
I can say the whole movie. I realize I have the
Really?
whole thing memorized, and it brought back memories of. I think I would like stand in front of my mirror and do these lines like I was in the movie, like not even while watching the movie. I would just then do them later. Every time certain lines would come up, I was like, oh, I remember doing that.
I remember too. I remember just throw in the lot. Like when Mildred and Maude are making potions and they're supposed to be making this laughter potion. And all the other girls know what they're doing and they're doing it really fast. And Ethel is being perfect and a bitch as she always is. Like they have no idea. So they start throwing shit in and they're like,
I think we need pondweed. That's right. Oh, we gathered at midnight. How much? Oh, I'm not sure. Just throw in a handful. Oh, 2 handfuls. Throw in the lot.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't make them laugh. It turns them invisible, which is a way better potion, which they agree that it is, if only they could remember how they did it.
Mm-hmm.
This movie is so funny, Todd.
It is. It's got a lot of humor. I mean, it's just a throw everything in the kitchen sink in here kind of movie, you know. I like that. I mean, the kids' movies were like that. If you can get a little gag in, if you can get a little laugh in, just throw it in. It doesn't have to be sophisticated, right?
The shoes bit when they're invisible, like, doesn't even make any sense, but it's still hilarious to me that their shoes are like moving around.
It's also like, is it a musical? Is it not a musical? There's a couple songs and dances. There's music in the background, but then there are 2 actual musical numbers. So it really is. Let's throw a little bit of this in here. This is what this movie needs.
I will tell you, as a kid, I always resented the fact that a kids' movie, it seemed obligatory that there had to be at least one song in there. I was like, why can't they make movies for us that have no songs in them at all? But the TV movies...
Not me. I was like, more songs.
Yeah, I don't know.
We like the song and dance. You sound like my husband.
I get it.
Like
but
they say that happy people have a song in their heart. So.
My cold, dead, shriveled heart has no room for song.
Even as a child, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
I was born
That's
that way.
So funny.
Yeah.
So Mildred and Ethel have this rivalry, and that's a thing, apparently. But also, outside the school, Miss Cackle's evil twin sister, Agatha, and her lackey, Delilah, are spying and listening to the girls sing the school song. And oh God, I wrote it down because I wanted to say it so bad. I don't remember what it was, but she's like, Delilah, how dare they? They're ruining my school song.
Was mine, by birth, mine, before my sister stole it. She was always Mom's favorite, always jealous of me. What did I care? I hated them both.
like
She had a
Miss Cackle has this
deep
terrible.
horrible.
Yeah, Miss Cackle's accent, her British accent is not great, but the Southern accent is hilarious to me. And Delilah is another one of my favorite characters from this movie.
Delilah is like they found the crazy drunk woman on the corner
Right.
and just said, "Hey, put this on.
Be in this movie.
We're gonna
with
put some makeup on you and just be yourself. Walk around this fire." She's something.
She's funny. She's bug-eyed and oh my gosh, hilarious. And I don't know, what do y'all want to say about the plot? I wrote every single thing. I basically have the script in front of me, so if you want me to perform it,
And I have it all
only
in
an
my
hour
head.
long.
Well, basically, all one really needs to know is Mildred is the clumsy ingenue of this story, and Ethel's the bully. And then there's some conflict because the evil twin sister is lurking and she wants to get her school back because there's another number about if you're filthy, smelly. Yeah.
Evil, wicked, and cruel.
Yes. So she wants the school to go back to creating these evil, filthy, cruel witches. So that's the conflict. Somehow Mildred's going to have to save the day, and she does. So anyway, that's the whole story.
Well, the evil witches, they drop out of the picture after they're introduced pretty much and don't pop back in till pretty much the end. I was
we check in with them from time to time. Calm down.
Maybe once. Maybe once.
It's not much.
No. I no. Most of it's focused on the girls and their wacky hijinks, and these kids who are just relentlessly cruel to Mildred. Poor girl.
And she's nothing but sweet, and she's absolutely lovely and adorable. And I love that her friend Maud sticks up for her. And silly things happen.
Who's the mean girl?
Oh gosh,
who's the mean girl? What's her name?
Ethel is the mean girl.
Oh, okay.
Ethel Hollow.
They play this game called Terror Tag.
Yeah.
Which I always wanted to play, but how stupid the things that scare these people who are supposed to be witches.
Right.
I'm terrified because you stuck your tongue out.
And like held your eyebrows up. But that's what it is. Like you run around and hide and you try to scare. You're in two teams and you try to scare the opposite team. And every time you can make somebody from the opposite team scream, your team gets a point. And apparently young girls will scream at the sight of anything. But
that's actually true. I work in an elementary school. They scream all the time.
Oh, yeah. I have worked in elementary school too. There is a lot of screaming. But it was funny to me and Ethel, because she wears a scary mask and makes Mildred scream like
100 times.
11 times or something.
Yeah, I gotta say, as an adult, Mildred is not as cute to me. I was like, well, she is really annoying. Do you need to scream 20 times when you see a mask on clearly your classmate's body?
Right. And you knew it was Ethel. You were trying specifically to scare her. But that whole sequence was silly because why would especially if the goal was not to scream. I mean, I guess the game wouldn't be very fun if nobody screamed ever. It'd be 0-0 all the time, but it was kind of silly. And honestly, watching it back, this isn't Fairuza Balk's best performance. But she's adorable and I love her.
That
and
makes
she
up
has
for it.
she always has had, obviously, since she was a child and still has, a very unique and I think very beautiful look. She has these icy eyes and I loved her in The Craft. I will never say a bad word about her unless she does something stupid, and then I might. But up till now, I'll never say a bad word about her because I'm such a fan. But this movie's not going to be nominated for any awards.
Right.
Now that we have that cleared up.
I
was on pins and needles wondering. What I really liked was that there were, again, it was like a kitchen sink kind of movie. Wherever they could get a gag and they could. And I have to imagine that there were other characters in this book series that they just popped in just because they thought they would be fun. Like Mrs. Cackle has a niece, Donna, who flies in and has a telephone on her broom, which was kind of a funny gag.
It was funny.
And this woman who comes in, is it Miss Spellbinder?
Miss Spellbinder.
Yes, that's who I wanted to be. She was cool.
Awesome and hot.
She's like an Amelia Earhart of flying brooms. It seems like she's got that outfit.
She is bedecked in head to toe red leather.
She has a blue unitard, but then she has red leather, and there's like a big spider web on the back of her cape.
Yeah,
she has those like sassy red boots. Yeah, I wanted to be her. She was really cool.
Very cool.
This is starting to sound very not childlike, by the way, the way you guys are describing this.
No, but when I say head, like literally, like the boots, true. And then like you can see part of her face. She's even got goggles on in some places.
Yeah.
So she is completely covered, but the actress is beautiful. But I also feel like she's played up to be the one that they all kind of look up to. Like she's the cool, hot one.
Yeah, it's also supposed to be like that classic like flight suit, right? From
yeah, and she teaches
era.
Flying. And talk about Harry Potter, like that scene looks like it's like Harry Potter lifted it right out. I mean, I don't know how else do you shoot a flying instruction thing in front of a castle,
right?
I guess if you're gonna shoot that, it's gonna
always
look
probably
like
the
other ones.
Yeah.
Did anyone else notice that every class lasts approximately 5 minutes at this school? Like their spell, she said it'll take you 3 minutes to make this spell. Then it was like class dismissed. And then in this one, of course, Mildred, she has an accident with her broom and she hits the bell and they're like, oh, there's the lunch bell. It's been like 5 minutes. Class dismissed.
Class dismissed.
I want to go to this school.
Yeah.
Me too.
Is the end of Terror Tag when Mildred gets her revenge on Ethel a bit?
Yes.
Okay, that's a great part. So we know from prior footage in this film that Mildred is not great at spells, okay? But she gets so ticked off at Ethel because she's being so mean, and she's like, she cheated, she wore a mask, that she says she's going to turn her into a frog or a toad or something. And Ethel's just like, okay, go ahead and try. So all of a sudden, Mildred just has spells in her mind and is saying words. And she tries to turn her into a frog, and she does turn her into something, but it's not a frog. She turns her into a pig. Not really sure how that happened, but Ethel as a pig is one of my favorite characters in the movie.
Yeah. It's fantastic.
But she's still bitchy and whiny as a pig.
She's still very bitchy and whiny, but you're looking at a really cute pig while she does it.
That's true.
So it's great.
Oh, God. Ethel tells Mildred, like, hurry up. And Mildred's like, you hurry up. She's arguing with this pig. And she's also, oh, I'm really sorry, Ethel. I didn't mean to turn you into a pig. And Ethel's like, I'm going to get you, Mildred Hubble. And you're right. Like, we're just looking at this pig speaking in her voice. Hilarious.
I actually thought for early 80s that those when she's changing her back to Ethel and it kind of closes up on her eyes, I thought that was pretty advanced for the time. I thought that effect looked pretty good.
It was almost like a morphing effect, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I was impressed. Yeah.
I don't know. To me, it all looked like film. Like it didn't even look to me like they necessarily did anything with makeup. It was just like they were just kind of superimposing the pig face over her face, and gradually like fading the pig face out and fading her face in.
It just lined up really well, you know.
It did line up really well. I liked it. I liked everything. About this movie.
We know that.
You've made it clear.
The big thing is that then there's some kind of something going. Oh, the visit by the Grand Wizard, because the Grand Wizard only chooses one school to visit every year at Halloween time. Is
every
that right?
Halloween, yeah.
Is it Miss Cackle who's really into the
Miss? Well, everybody is.
They're all swooning over the Grand Wizard.
It had never occurred to me. I just read this in the trivia, but it had never occurred to me that Tim Curry is the only male character in this movie. It never occurred to me. But yeah, they're all swooning over him. I think it's so sweet and funny when the girls are all passing around a photograph of him and like
Kissing it.
holding it to their bosoms and kissing it.
It's so quaint.
I thought it was so funny too, but then at the same time, I was like, man, you can tell they're the only, like, there's only girls at this school. Because even as a young girl, that confused me. Like, he's not cute, girls. This is
I
Tim
don't
Curry,
know,
and
Kristen.
I think this was surely after he did Rocky Horror, and I'd probably seen him in that first, and thought, I'm not even sure he'd be into you girls.
Oh no.
So anyway, that was a little confusing to me. But then, of course, once I saw his music video, I was like, I get it. I hadn't seen his tambourine. Now I get it.
Oh my.
Have you seen my tambourine?
Has anybody seen my tambourine? I may start playing big in the beginning, the craziest night that you've ever seen.
As he pulls it out and is hitting it. Oh, God. It's so good.
That sounded like a different kind of movie. But no, guys, we're actually talking about a tambourine.
There's no. Wow.
Oh my God.
You know that, I don't know if you guys did a deep dive into this or not, but do you know who did the music for this?
I read it, but it wasn't anybody that I recognized.
Okay, Charles Strauss and Don Black collaborated on these. Charles Strauss, he's a composer for Bye Bye Birdie, Annie, lots of things you wouldn't imagine when you see this film, and All Dogs Go to Heaven, all those kinds of things. Don Black, the lyricist, same thing. He even did lyrics for a lot of James Bond themes, believe it or not.
Maybe somebody knew him and they were like, hey, I need a favor. Like, can you whip this out? Man, it sounds like I'm talking about a different movie again.
Really...
Can you got it started talking about him pulling out his tambourine and hitting on it. But maybe
you made it dirty, Kristen. You made it dirty.
I know I did. Sorry. But yeah, these lyrics, these don't show a lot of time and effort, at least in the Grand Highway.
Oh no! Oh God, they're so funny. I wish I could remember.
The lyrics are all about something could turn into something else.
Anything can happen on Halloween. Your dog could turn into a cat. There may be a toad in your bass guitar, or your sister could turn into a bat.
But like, no, that doesn't actually happen on Halloween.
No, that
of all
doesn't
the
happen
things
on
you could list
Halloween.
off that could happen on Halloween, that I've never seen that. No.
There could be a toad in your guitar, bass guitar.
Yeah,
What?
a toad in your bass
Why?
guitar? Where did that come from?
I'm like, listen, I like Halloween. I've never once seen any of these things happen on
Yeah.
Halloween. I think these happen on an acid trip.
It's
I'm not sure
overselling
what you're
Halloween
talking
considerably.
Yeah. But
New Year's Eve is a blast.
yes, then he talks about the other Halloween or the other holidays, like April Fool's Day even he throws in there. Like that's a
Yeah.
big holiday. Anyways.
Right. Our birthday
He's also like,
is
seriously, this is Tim Curry.
I know.
Who is amazing. Just hamming it up in front of a green screen for
all it's worth.
There's no way that this took him more than an hour.
No.
Oh no,
to
especially
do.
because at some point you can actually see him like reading the words as he's singing it when they close up on his face. They're just like, hey, make up any tune, we don't care. And just sing these words and dance
Oh
around.
God. Tim Curry is doing his Tim Curry thing with his voice.
Wow.
But on Halloween, your blood begins to run. Like, he's really hamming it up.
He really is.
This hairy, scary, creepy,
Harry, scary. And his mouth. I mean, that's the thing. Like
Oh, yeah.
Tim Curry's mouth, all you can see is Pennywise as he's singing parts of that.
Yeah, he's got that lip curl thing down.
Anywho, we kind of jumped ahead.
That's okay though, because all that happened before that is that they found out that he was coming, and because he's coming, they're gonna do this like broomstick promenade or something or whatever.
Is this like it's sort of like synchronized swimming for broomsticks, I guess?
Exactly. And there are tryouts for it, and Miss Hardbroom doesn't like Mildred and doesn't want her in it. But after the tryouts, one of the girls who made the team is sick or something. So Mildred gets put in.
Why?
But she has a
She could have chosen any
Mildred,
girl. Well, I thought
but
she
you remember?
hated...
So I work in a school, and every now and then you get those mean teachers who need to retire. And Miss
Yeah.
Hardroom is so one of those teachers in that
Yes.
moment, because she's like watching her fly. She's like, that's pretty good. Who's that?
Oh no, she's like,
Mildred.
that's exceptional. Yeah.
Yeah. So she just doesn't like her, so she gives her a crappy score. But then, so it kind of tracks. She's like, well, she could do it. She was pretty good.
Oh,
Right.
should've put her
I
in
mean,
there
it
the
doesn't
first
really track because she wouldn't ever pick her.
No.
But
Exactly, because it doesn't read in the movie. It doesn't make any sense
No,
that she would
because
pick
then-
her.
No, wait, she's not the one who sabotages her. I'm sorry. That's
no,
right.
no, Ethel.
No, it's Ethel.
Yeah.
And so Mildred makes it, but then Hardroom sees that Mildred's broom is broken because she's crashed it before. Well, you can't fly with a broken broom. And so Ethel holds up her hand and says, I'll loan her my spare broom. And then Ethel goes to get the broom, and I can't find it in my notes, but she does a spell. Like, she talks to the broom, and she's like, listen up.
We're going to fix Mildred Hubble, once and for all. Fire and alabaster, gin rummy, canaster. When I say faster, I order disaster.
That's like Ethel's best acting as well.
Oh, it's great. It's fantastic. And all of the spells are like higgledy biggledy,
Yeah.
pee poo. Like
If this was
And bippity boppity boo.
at least Harry Potter kind of upgraded it and made it seem like skill was involved in learning spells. This was
Right. This was just like say some rhyming words and something will happen. Literally, Mildred's to turn her into a pig was like mumbo jumbo biggity boo. Like those were the actual words.
humble bumble. I'm not through.
Anywho,
You guys are having
so
way
she
too
puts
much fun with this.
the spell on the broom, and it's all because Mildred didn't have a Nimbus 2000. Hers was ugly looking.
Exactly. And so then they do, so, Tim Curry shows up, like he flies in, Todd, as you said, with an enormous cape, like he's holding two brooms at the end of each arm. And he comes in. It was funny to me that you said, oh, and then Tim Curry came in. And then when he broke into his song, because I had kind of forgotten, like he literally just shows up, says a line, and then starts singing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And
he's
then-
like, Happy Halloween.
And then when he's and then when he's done, he leans over and does that whole Tim Curry.
I've got a split. I've got another gig.
And then flies off.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I also didn't understand, did he control the castle looking like a jack-o'-lantern? Because as soon
I
as he
don't know.
flew off, it wasn't a jack-o'-lantern anymore.
Oh, I don't
Also,
know. That looked really
apparently-
cool.
On Halloween for the Grand High Wizard is the only time these girls get to wear makeup and like be all sparkly and pretty. Because I remember thinking they look so cool for that air show or whatever they were doing. They all got to put makeup and sparkles on and put like fake hair in, and they
One of-
turned their capes to the neon green side, so they look
One of my favorite lines in the movie is when they're getting ready and Maud says,
Nose.
sometimes I worry about my nose. Do you think it'll ever get big and sexy like this one? She puts a big warty witch nose on her face.
I like when Mildred says, "How do you kiss with a nose like
Nose
this?"
like this.
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah, you don't. I don't remember. They're just cute.
They're adorable.
It was way earlier, but I just like Maud because she's like, she doesn't care about anybody. And they're talking about hard room and she calls her HB and she's talking about, I don't imagine anyone kissing HB. And that's like the part when I was little that scared me, and the part now as an adult where I'm like, how does she just like appear all of a sudden, because that's when she showed up, and anyone who's seen it knows where she goes, is that so?
Is that so? That was one of the parts that they always showed in the preview. That part and Tim Curry after. So they do the like broomstick thing, but Ethel says faster, and it makes Mildred's broom go crazy, and they all crash. All of the teachers are mortified, and Tim Curry says, if these are the witches of the future, I hate to think what the future will bring.
Yes.
It's a great
Those
Tim
are the
Curry
two
impression,
lines
but-
that they always showed in the trailer. Oh gosh.
Anyway, yeah, so that's what happened. You just said it. They do the air show, but then of course Ethel says faster and the broom goes crazy, so they all fall in a pile. And then he leaves.
So she cries on her not black cat, Tabby, and is like, oh, Tabby, I have run away.
Pause. I cannot get through this without talking about why they felt the need to have a human voice Tabby. Every other cat just like a regular cat. This one is going meow, meow, meow. Like it's talking, it's communicating with Mildred. She's like, you think so, Tabby? Meow. It makes no sense. Oh my God. And it just really, I was like, why? Why is hers the only cat that's like meow, 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 and it's talking? Anyway.
It's hilarious. So she runs away, and she is in the process of running away when she happens upon the evil witches in the forest, and she overhears their dastardly plan and spies on them, and eventually they smell her. There's a stranger among us.
It's a little bit like the witches, with like Roald Dahl's witches. They can smell her.
Yes. Like they find her, and she's like, oh, I know what I'll do. I'll turn them into snails. And so she stands up and reveals herself, and the evil twin is like, get her. And they're all like, we're coming to get you. And they're moving like they're 150 years old, moving towards her.
And making like terribly annoying sounds.
Yeah. And throwing a few spells at her.
Oh my God! There was the one I think
buckshot
Delilah
spell.
Says,
oh, buckshot! Yeah,
what the hell?
And then they do.
The
buckshot is exploding all around her.
I could not get
Luckily,
over that.
They don't have good aim.
I just figured because, they were real cheap on the special effects. They're like, well, we could make some things explode behind them. All right, well, it'll be a buckshot spell then. Like, whose idea was that?
Right.
Delilah says, soften her up with some buckshot spells. Ew, gross.
Yeah.
But then she's successful, and she turns them into snails, and she puts them back in their box, it's like a cigar box, but it's labeled Acme Spell Company or something like that. And she goes immediately back to school, where she takes it to Miss Cackle and Miss Hardbroom. We haven't really talked about Miss Hardbroom. She's really mean to Mildred all the time. And at this point, like, she doesn't even believe Mildred's story, and she says she should be expelled. But
Do you guys know Kat Von D?
Yeah.
She looks like Kat Von D. Like if Kat, before she had face tattoos and before she then covered up all her tattoos, she looks just like her, I think. Who I think is a very beautiful woman. She just is interesting. But I also was desperate to try to find some things to talk about with this movie, which turns out I guess it wasn't a problem. But she played Hedda Gabler in the movie.
I saw that.
Which totally tracks. I could see her playing that.
Oh, she's a.
Yes.
Sorry, that's for the theater nerds.
We're talking about Diana Rigg.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's a Bond girl. I mean, that girl she was a bombshell.
beautiful.
Yeah, and in fact, she was in Game of Thrones. She died a few years ago, but not before she was in Game of Thrones. Olenna Tyrell. I recently saw.
I
Game
saw
of
that
Thrones,
too.
so, yeah.
I haven't watched Game of Thrones, but I saw
Neither
that she
have I.
was
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah, she's just a beautiful woman. She has like her cheekbones, like her bone structure is just insane. And she plays this really well, but she's, like you said, Kristen, they're really, I hate to admit it, but it's true that they're not all teachers are good teachers, and some teachers do target
And
kids.
they have their favorites, and that's from the beginning, Ethel's her favorite. Because
Right.
that whole family the Hollow family has produced another winner, or whatever she says in the beginning.
Right. So she doesn't even believe Mildred at this point, but Miss Cackle does. And she's like, did the leader of the witches have a name? And Mildred's like, yeah, somebody called her Aggie. And Miss Cackle says, oh, I believe her. It's my wicked twin sister. And then I love the part where Miss Cackle and Miss Hardbroom talk to the snails.
Aggie, now step forward. Just look at you, Aggie. Crawling on your tummy. That's what you get for your evil ways.
But they antagonize her a little bit, and it's funny. And then they do come back, and
there's some great snail close-ups, by the way. Really, really fantastic.
Yeah, they went all out on real snails.
Yeah, to the point where I was like, I don't need to be seeing these snails anymore. They're disgusting.
Miss Cackle sends Mildred up to her room to rest, and then she very scarily dominates the evil witches. Like, they shoot her from a super low level, so it looks like she's huge, and then they shoot the other witches from a super high level, so it looks like they look tiny and it's cute. And then Maud comes and wakes Mildred up and says, Miss Cackle wants to see you in the Great Hall or whatever. You might want to rake a comb through your hair. That's another one of my favorite lines.
Even though she never has before.
and she comes down, and the Grand Wizard is there, and he's there, and
everyone claps when she walks in,
except for Ethel. Everyone claps, and she's the hero. And the Grand Wizard gives this like really nice speech about how sometimes there are really special people, and they don't go recognized because they seem clumsy or awkward or whatever, but they really are special, whatever. And that's nice. That's a nice message for kids.
The best witch isn't always the girl who comes out top of the tests. A true witch has witchcraft in her at all times. And this is what you have, Mildred Hubble.
But he acts like he's been watching her. He's like, I've been watching how she's treated him. Like, well, then why didn't you say something at the Halloween thing? Why'd you fly off to your other kid?
Yeah, why'd you act so unimpressed and leave?
She had to prove herself, and she did.
It's a Willy Wonka situation, huh?
Yeah. I just thought it was it's really
very sweet.
And then he's like, what are you going to do now that, I don't know, you're famous, or I don't remember. She's like, well, I really need to practice my flying. And he's like, would you like to practice with me?
That felt
And Ethel
weird.
is seething. She's so jealous.
Yeah.
And then they fly off together, and they fly around the castle, and they fly off into the sunset, and there's a reprise of Growing Up as an Easy, and there's new verses, and it's so good.
And they fly off into the sunset, which isn't at all weird. With her flying off with the Grand High.
Yeah, like she's not
Wizard.
even flying on her broom. Like she's
I'm not sure how that's practiced. She's riding
She's just hanging on to his broom. Like not
Gross.
Like whatever he's got underneath his robe is what she's hanging on to.
Gross, you guys.
Oh, but man, seriously,
that's the whole movie.
Yeah, love every second of it. Every second of it. And I understand if you're looking at it with fresh eyes, you are going to be critical of it. And that's fine. And I understand. And it's totally fair. I get it. But it doesn't change the fact that I love every second of it.
It's for sure a little kid, family friendly, or 80s nostalgia movie to watch at Halloween.
Yeah.
Yeah, if your kid can manage it, if your kid can look past I think kids today they expect something a little more sophisticated, and maybe they're going to expect something with a little better production value, and they might scratch their heads at some things. I don't know. The thing is, there's so much out there, right, that they could see.
Right.
I wonder if they would kind of turn their nose up at something like this the minute you turn it on. I don't know.
For sure, I hear you, and I don't think kids would like it today. But I remember, it's been several years ago now, but I made my daughter watch it with me because she loves Halloween too.
Uh-huh.
And she had fun with it,
Did
even
she?
though it was bad. Now, if I made them watch it, they'd be like, well, that was scary. It's scary that you ever liked something like this. But she enjoyed it when she was little and I showed it to her because I think,
Sure.
especially as a girl too, like we can all relate to Mildred's insecurities and her sweetness. And so she did enjoy it when she was younger.
It's got that clear moral message. It's got
Right.
that strong, it's got the music in it and the silliness and the gags and the stuff.
I really think that it was probably the songs and the music that hooked us. I do really love every part of it, but I do think those songs, gosh, I mean, even though, Alan's not a big fan of Halloween or anything, but because I've been thinking about this for a week, I've just been singing these songs, and then I'll be around him and he'll start singing them and he's like, God damn it. Thanks a lot.
Well,
like they're catchy and cute and fun, and
honestly, setting aside the anything can happen on Halloween song, this songs sound a little bit like Broadway songs. They're
For sure.
they're very, very in that style, and so there's no question they're catchy. Yeah, totally. No, I mean, I wasn't singing them over and over again, but you guys have a different history. Nobody's gonna love this movie, I think, as much as you two.
No, I don't think that's true at
Probably
all.
fair.
No, I don't think that's true at all. Like, even, some of our patrons have been messaging us like they're excited about this.
No.
You said
I
it's
don't mean nobody does love this movie as much as you two. I just kind of mean from now on.
Well, I'm really glad that we got to do this, and I'm really glad that Kristen, you were able to join us.
Yeah, well, it's fun for people who like. I love Halloween. I love it, and I always have since I was a kid. But I'm not like Craig in that I just really love to be scared all the time, and I don't enjoy really, really scary things. So this was fun for me as a kid because it was very Halloween, but I wasn't going to be scared when I went to bed at night. So I think for people who love Halloween, but they don't want like to be dreaming about zombies or like seeing people get murdered, that this can be a really, really fun thing to have every Halloween.
Yeah, it's a definite Halloween pick for sure. Family.
Well, and I think that it would be good. Like, this is something, if you are that type of person and you have young kids, like this is
really
so
young.
safe. Like, it's not, exactly, really young, like infant to 4.
Like while your
Like, there's
baby is napping,
music.
you've got this going.
There's music. There's, like fun things, silly things to look at.
There's nothing scary.
no.
There is
Nothing.
nothing scary.
No.
Nothing. Those of you who've requested it, thank you. I appreciate it. I swear to God that when we started doing this, it never would have even crossed my mind that we would have gotten around to doing The Worst Witch. But it is. I mean, it's a touchstone of my childhood. And I watch it, not every year necessarily, but I still watch it every so often. And if you haven't seen it, friends, you should watch it. Like, it's not horror, it's not scary, but you just should, just because I said so.
Especially our older friends who can remember things from their childhood
Exactly.
that they loved. Because yes, if you have young listeners, I'm not so sure they're gonna take your word for things if you recommend this one to them.
You're right. It's not horror, but it's definitely horror adjacent. It is well within the kinds of things we cover on the show because we like to do these kid-friendly sort of I don't even know if you call it gateway horror, really, but it's fantasy more than anything else. But it is 100% intended for Halloween. That is our theme for this month, is Halloween movies, and we've been veering this month, this year, for some reason, a little bit more into the kid territory. And so I think this falls right in lines with Goosebumps and the other ones. It's just a much, much tamer thing for the younger kids. So, yeah, for that, I would definitely recommend it as well if you're interested in seeking it out. And you can, because it's free on YouTube. It's like there's 3 or 4 versions of it out there, I think, varying levels of quality. So, yeah. More than anything, I enjoyed just sitting back and listening to you guys relive your childhoods and gush over it. So,
well, thank you
for
doing that. It was a lot of fun.
That's been
it was fun. I think I'm ready to hear Todd's Halloween voice again. You introduced us to your Halloween spooky voice in the intro of one of your latest episodes, so maybe your
Happy
Halloween.
Thank you for listening. Very sophisticated. I've been working on that for years. Thanks for giving me an excuse to bring it out. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Well, if you've enjoyed this episode, please share with a friend. Like we've said, we've had some earlier films this month. We did Goosebumps, very child-friendly. Please stick around, subscribe to us everywhere we have our podcast. All you have to do is put in Two Guys in a Chainsaw Podcast into Google, and you'll find our Facebook page, our website, any of your podcast things. Just subscribe there. Let us know what you thought of this episode, and please share with a friend. That's just one of the best things you can do, is to help grow our audience and spread the love around. The love of the season. And Kristen, it was lovely having you on here once again as well. It will not be the last time.
No.
So,
well, thanks for having me.
it's been fun. It's been great. So until next time, I'm Todd.
And I'm Craig.
And I'm Kristen.
With Two Guys and a Chainsaw.